We do have a quorum. Has anyone heard from Eddie? No one?
Sure, he's coming on.
Yeah, okay. We'll go ahead and continue on, and maybe he's had a prior commitment, or maybe he's just running late. God knows I've done it myself, so battling traffic. What we'll do with acceptance of the agenda, does anybody need to be added? Seeing none, we'll move right on along. Since there's there's Mr. Roberson. How are you, sir? Good. Sorry. Good, that's okay.
You're gonna get an ugly text from me just.
Mr. Roberson here now, we do, we have a full committee. We'll go ahead and start with, if there's no objection, does anybody need any additions or to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll just move along with that. There's no sense in voting on acceptance of the agenda. Removal of the minutes, I need a motion. So second, okay, there's been a motion and a proper second. Any discussion of the minutes from the last time, any additions or deletions? Hearing none, is everybody ready to vote? All in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously on that. Okay, let's go on, move on to ordinances and resolutions. We have 3 this evening. We have a resolution and we have 3 resolutions. The first one is a reading of the resolution of 2023-13, which is a resolution accepting the dedication of the streets in the Hunt Club on phase 8 and 12. And I need a motion. So moved. Second. Okay, now there's been a proper motion and second. Now let's discuss it. We'll have been anything added on, need to be talked about on that to the Hunt Club.
No, the only thing I would note about this is there were some damaged trees as a result of the recent windstorm, but we have coordinated with planning and they felt comfortable moving forward with street acceptance and managing that through the 1-year maintenance period.
Okay. So that looks okay. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, is everybody ready to vote? All in favor of the resolution 2023-13, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, it passes unanimously. Second on the agenda is a resolution 2023-15, a resolution authorizing the city's Department of Parks and Recreation to apply for the Kaboom Community Playground Grant. I need a motion. So moved. Second. All right, there's been a proper motion and a proper second. Discussion. And
this is a grant where we would like to try to replace the playground at Sandersbury Park by the leaf shelter. We've never gotten this grant. I don't know how we'll do, but we're willing to try. The match from the city, it could be $8,500 if we get up to an $80,000 playground. We do have some funds still available in the an improvement project that we set up for Sandersbury Park that we're trying to work on, get city sewer installed there. So if we have funds left in there, we'll use those. If not, we'll put it in the budget special project if we receive the grant. It will require a community effort. We'll have to get some volunteers to help us install it with our maintenance staff. So it's kind of a neat thing. Goodlettsville has gotten it twice. So we're going to take a shot.
have I know you have, but we've never
To
applied.
my knowledge, we have not.
I don't think so. What is Kaboom?
It's a company. It's the playground company.
It's a good program.
Mhm.
I do know that. But I, as far as that I know, I don't know any more of it than that it is good. I've never heard any bad things about it at all. Any further discussion on this one?
Yeah, so Andy, of all of the playgrounds, we feel that this is the most needed.
It's in an area that is probably able to qualify for the demographics that could need it.
Okay, that answered my question. Okay, so it's. And so will we spend all of it if we get 100,000?
Well, it will be, the grant will be specifically for what you put into that playground, yes.
And is there a big demand for that park?
Sanders Ferry,
Yes,
probably more so than ever.
I know they have a lot of fishing tournaments there.
Fishing, disc golf, people just walking around. Since COVID, it's probably one of the most used facilities that doesn't have sports in it.
How have we, it's kind of a ancillary issue. Have the roofs and the sheds been fixed?
The roofs are fixed, yes, sir. That project is done. We're about 4 months into getting approval from the Corps to try to get city sewer to the restrooms there. So Public Works has helped us get maps and elevations, and HUD has kind of helped us there too, telling us what we need to do. Kind of waiting on the Corps. That would be, in our opinion, the next best upgrade to really help, because the more crowds we have down there, the restrooms just on septic is not doing us much good.
Are these playgrounds all inclusive?
This one probably might have some inclusive equipment, but it will not be like a Mary's Place. Because of the expense of that, putting the flooring in and the type of equipment.
And on the sheds, did we come in under budget on?
We did. Sure did.
Thank you. Any other questions? Is everyone ready to vote? All in favor of resolution? I'm hearing none. All in favor of resolution 2023-15, which is authorizing the Department of Parks and Rec to apply for the grant, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, it passes unanimously. All right, number 3 is another resolution that we have this evening. It's authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with social indoor advertising for advertising on the city park facilities to benefit the city park system. I need a motion. So moved. Second. Okay, there's been a proper motion and a second discussion.
So in 2020, the Civitan Club partnered with Graffiti Advertising.
Yeah.
And came to the Parks Board, got approval to do advertising in the restrooms and concession buildings in various parks. Graffiti is, you've probably seen them all over Nashville and Middle Tennessee. But Graffiti was bought out by Social Indoor, which is a locally owned group. And you've seen these probably, they have the more digital boards that you would see in restaurants and all over town. When they bought them out, we have a need for a new contract, and we thought it would be beneficial to the city if the contract would be with the city and not a group. We can still allow the details of the contract. The way it was worked before, the Civitan Club captured the revenue share from the advertising. They would reinvest it into projects in the park. Same situation will occur here, except the contract will be with the city. Then we've kind of gone in and seen, okay, what percentage of the advertisements are in the soccer restrooms, what percentage are in the ones that Civitan runs. For them to give us the share of the revenue straight to the city, and then us try to reappropriate it would be a whole lot of red tape. These people do a lot of projects with us and partner with us. It seems like a good operation, but the contract is with the city. So if something goes awry, we can always figure out a way where we collect it. That makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Any other discussion from the committee?
Yeah. I don't understand. So how much money are we talking about?
You're probably talking between $2,000 and $5,000 a year.
Okay. So all that money goes to Civitan.
In this case, it will go 90% to Civitan and 10% to the soccer groups.
Why shouldn't that money come to us? Because we're maintaining the bathrooms, we clean them, and we fix them when they're broken. So why shouldn't that money come to us to?
If we collect it, it'll go to the general fund. I would have to come in and do ordinance to reappropriate it back to parks. I mean, if you want to do it that way, I can certainly do it that way. I know, one thing we've tried to eliminate the last couple of years is nickel and dime ordinances to do that stuff. the Civitan clubs and soccer groups, and they routinely partner with us on projects, on buy equipment or do things to reinvest into those facilities, so.
So my thoughts on that was that when Andy brought this to me was, I asked him, who generates the traffic? The eyes to see these ads. Overwhelming at Civitan because it's mostly in the bathrooms that their programs or that the kids and the families of their programs are gonna use. And then soccer after that. So that's why I was okay going to having the money go to those programs. Because without those programs there, nobody's gonna advertise there. But you raise a good point. We're the ones that have the expense of the buildings.
Yeah, I mean. Do we get 100% of the revenue?
It's a share, no, we'll get a percentage. I mean, there would be about 120 different ads sold across the city, and we'll get a percentage of that.
You know what percent?
I'll have to go back and read exactly the contract. Sorry,
I don't think it lists the percent. I think
it may not list
it's a
the
flat
exact
fee.
percentage.
Yeah, so they don't tell us what percent they actually anticipate generating.
Don't understand why we need a middleman. You know, if it's our facilities, why we just don't get all of the money and appropriate it for whatever you think is necessary. So you don't have to go to the Civitan, you have it appropriate.
I'm perfectly fine with that. That's what you want to do. I'll be glad to do that.
It's sort of modeled after the ordinance that we have that allows signs on the fences at the different organizations. So if Civitan baseball talks somebody advertising out there, obviously they're gonna get the majority of that money. This is a little bit different because Civitan, Hendersonville Soccer Club, Tennessee United, they're not out there selling the ads. It's somebody else that's selling the ads. So it's similar, but it's not the same. I think you raised a good question.
I mean, if we did it ourselves, we get all the money, wouldn't we? Not just a portion. We don't even know the percentage that we get of the advertising.
Correct.
It's not a lot of money, but still, you know, we got a lot of needs at that park. I know the bathrooms and stuff, so I'm just wondering, I don't really see the advantage of sharing that revenue.
The advantage to me is that we don't have to keep up with anything. They collect all the money. We go to them, we get a report. We go to them and say, hey, we need quick equipment for T-ball. Can you all use this money to buy that? Instead of me having to spend 6 weeks going through to get an ordinance to appropriate it to our recreation athletic account. Or wait until the mid-year budget. I mean, that's one of the things Jesse's kind of put a stop to, is we used to have ordinances all the time to appropriate donations. So I'd wait till the mid-year to get half the year's money, and then I guess I'd try to appropriate it in the regular budget at the end of the year for next year.
So do we know it? I don't know, maybe I'm beating a dead horse here. But do we know when the fiscal year starts, how much revenue is going to be from this advertising?
We should know.
So you could appropriate that amount,
I can do that. That's what you want to do. I'll do it.
but you don't want to do that.
It's not the easiest thing to do. No, it's not. But I will gladly do it. We can create a line item.
Is it
specifically
a
for
yearly
that.
contract? Or
Yes.
Is just per year,
Mhm.
and so like next year it'll have to come back again, right?
We'll have to sign an extension, I guess.
Right.
I don't know if Bum will have to vote to. sign
Just
an
to extend the
extension,
contract, yeah,
or how
that would make
work.
sense,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
probably
would.
just probably ask, well-known extension, yeah, it probably would have to go to both. Do that.
I mean, we can set up we've tried this before. There was 4 or 5 years ago, there was a sponsorship line item in the budget with the very similar intent where you just kind of set up a revenue and expense, and it became a nightmare for finance to deal with sponsorships. So we've had to kind of figure out other ways to go about it. Working with people. But I'm happy to do either way.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful if first we knew how the committee feels. Should the money go to the organizations that are generating the traffic? And if you feel that way, then we can sort of figure out from there, how do we do that? Do we do that with our annual appropriation, or do we do that by just having the companies send their checks to them? So the first question is, do you feel like the money should go to Civitan and Tennessee United and Hendersonville Soccer Club?
Well, the other alternative is they could just themselves have an agreement and bring that back to Parks Board and Bellwood will approve them, just like they did the first time. I thought it would be better for the city to maintain control of the contract.
I do too. I agree with you. It's our
Yeah.
facilities.
Right.
So the way you're seeing it, the contract will be with us, but the money will go to them.
Correct,
And we'll get some kind of cut out of it.
correct. We'll get all of it in some form or fashion. I mean, the Hendersonville Soccer Club just spent $43,000 on shades at the soccer concession stand. Civitan, they're spending money constantly on different. So one way or the other, we're gonna get it. If you want it to just go to us, we can definitely have the contract redone and say all the money goes to City of Hendersonville.
Well, you're the expert and you think it's working well now.
It has, yes.
All
sir.
right, I'm ready to vote.
Any other questions or comments? Mayor, anything else?
We've got 2 weeks before it goes to the board, so if you think of any way to improve this, let us know.
Okay, all right, hearing good comments from all sides on this. All in favor of the reading of the resolution of 2023-16, which is authorizing the mayor to enter into the agreement with social indoor advertising for the park facilities, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, passes unanimously. Okay. We have completed the major portion of the body of our agenda. Now we're on to other agenda items. I should say the world famous other agenda items. Let's go with trash collection update.
Thankfully, not a whole lot to report.
That's really good.
It's been going pretty well overall, so,
We got their attention. didn't
yeah, I think so.
Let's hope so. I hope so. I agree. I hope we do.
It's great.
That's good. Okay. Mayor, anything on that one that you want to, just quiet?
I just want to knock on wood.
Okay, there you go. That's all. I know what you mean. Let's go to Mountain Wood Drive streetlight proposal revision.
The city received a request to add a new street light at 104 Mountainwood Drive.
Okay.
And when city engineer was reviewing that request in light of our street lighting policy, his determination was that that was not a suitable location for a new street light. That 110 Mountainwood Drive was actually more appropriate. There's a combination horizontal vertical curve there. That actually really would benefit from a street light there, but that wasn't where the request originated. And we would have to do some coordination with those, have to coordinate with those property owners to ensure, we weren't negatively impacting anyone, but that's the recommendation.
Okay, so the recommendations go to 110 instead of 104, right?
That's right.
On this, does anybody have, I used to represent this area, so I know exactly where you're talking about. That is probably 110 is actually the best place for that over on Mountain, for sure. A lot of good folks over there.
So are there any kind of accidents or crime that justifies this light?
No, just the roadway characteristics. Could warrant it in accordance with our existing policy.
Could or does?
Does.
Okay.
Kind of
It
sketchy
supports
over
the
there.
installation of a new
In
light.
terms of the road.
Yeah, we all get requests from time to time for street lights, so I just want us to be consistent.
Yeah.
And the reason we think that this is consistent with the policy is because there's a curvature in the road,
Mhm.
which makes it dangerous.
Yes, the combination, when you have a horizontal and vertical and no street lighting there, it can be hazardous.
A vertical and horizontal.
Yeah,
Where's the,
so the vertical you can't really see, but the horizontal is that,
I see
and
the
then the
horizontal.
vertical would be coming out of the paper. Mhm. So it would be an elevation in the roadway. That's the
oh,
horizontal.
there's a little hump in the
That's
road.
right,
yes.
yes, sir.
So is it a blind? A blind curve or something?
It makes it more difficult to navigate at night, especially since there aren't people.
There's not very many lights over there to begin with on that, but
I just want to make sure. Cause had to tell my constituents.
Yeah,
The policy doesn't allow it. So
right.
now, when I'm asked if I see a curvature in the road, if I see a little hump in the road,
Mhm.
we got a precedent.
Sure, unless there's a street light, you know, right here.
Yes.
So, but yes, sir.
Okay, all right, all right, thank you.
Yes. Sir.
Any questions, other questions on that? So, yeah, that's, I don't have any problem with that on the revision of putting that. Just let that, the person, I don't even know who lives there in 104 anymore, but I guess kind of let them know what we've decided to do to put it 110 instead, right there.
Okay,
Will that be a regular light or a LED?
it will be an LED.
Okay,
Mhm.
all new ones we're putting in LEDs.
We are, yeah, we're trying to. We've gotten, honestly, we've gotten some complaints. There's some.
Too bright.
Mhm.
All right, the 2019 mitigation grant app, hazard mitigation app.
Yes, so this was a little before my time. I'm guessing some of you might be familiar with it. But in 2019, they applied for one of the FEMA grants, hazard mitigation, to purchase properties impacted by flood events. This property is shown in red on the map for the repetitive loss structures, which those are the ones that have been most repetitively impacted by flood events and had insurance claims. Those have been removed from our grant application. It's at a higher funding level, and so that level of funding was not available through this application cycle. And so we have heard back from, they are looking at the properties of interest, which are shown in yellow, but those haven't experienced the same level of flooding impacts for whatever reason. So I just wanted to update the committee that this was still active. We haven't received a determination yet, but that's where we are. We submitted for 13. They've removed the 6 repetitive loss structures, and they're reviewing for the properties of interest.
And do you have any idea when they'll come back?
I don't,
For the info.
it's,
South Park. Is that Jim Waters' home?
Pretty close.
it's a little unfortunate though, if they do it like this, as you can see, you end up with just these little pockets of
Yeah.
properties as opposed to, you know, a larger section like the Safely Port Homes and Linden Homes that we've done in the past. That was all, you know, one
Right.
consistent area.
So it's up to the resident if he wants to sell, right?
That's right. If they approve it and we receive the funding, then it's up to the resident.
And what's our portion of it?
These would be 75-25 split, so 25% of approximately probably around 2 million.
That'll be interesting when it comes back out to see what they say, honestly.
Yeah,
Even if they may come back and say, sorry, Charlie.
they might. We have a request in with the NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, a data request for the repetitive loss and severe repetitive loss structures in the city of Hendersonville, so we can tailor future application for eye on who's being impacted by flood events and
Okay.
make future applications for those.
Is the flooding getting worse since 2019 or about the same?
I don't think I've gotten any new flooding complaints in that area. There were some minor improvements that were completed through our stormwater utility. And I mean, not that it fixes the floodway, obviously, but I think maybe things are,
Yeah, I know we went down there. I know we've been working in the past about it. And I hadn't had anybody call me on Southburn about it since the fixing or attempt of it.
Wouldn't ask Jim what-
Yeah, he would know. I'm gonna tell you right now.
yeah, you could know.
All right, any other questions? Mayor, do you have any questions on that?
I don't, but when it comes back, that's the chunk of change.
Yeah, it is. That's also what I was gonna say, if they even, they may look at it and say, no, not this year. All right, let's go on to the mosquito control, a verbal update on the mosquito control update.
So we discussed this last month and through our point, there were some requests for additional information regarding efficacy of adulticide versus larvicide,
Mm.
things like that.
Yeah.
We were unsuccessful in finding comparative data between the two options, really. They're intended to be utilized together as a program to address areas where there are outbreaks and concentrated issues. Some things that we did find that Metro used to have a program where they sprayed, regularly, and several years ago, they kind of readdressed that and passed some legislation that they only treat for mosquitoes if the health department indicates that there's an outbreak or an issue, concentrated issue, and then they kind of had some steps that they would take for communication and signing for where and when they're going to be treating, things like that. And so based on that, I didn't know if that was something that this committee wanted to consider. I mean, I would work, of course, with our legal team to our interim city attorney to draft something along those lines and bring back, but that's what they kind of have moved to. I have a call out to our health department in Sumner County to see what that level of coordination might look like with them, and if they could accommodate that or have any arrangement like that with any other municipality where they would notify us if there's a certain threshold reached and we could treat that area.
So as needed.
Yeah.
I like that.
As needed.
So are you gonna do any of the ponds and standing water that we know of? Instead of spraying, treat these areas that,
So interestingly enough, a lot of that is private property and looking at it closer, like the millstone detention pond, things like that. Wet pond, those are private property situations where they could potentially look at doing that themselves. Maybe some exceptions might be called sinkholes. I think of the actual term down near the Meadow Lake, I believe it is, that area. Yeah, potentially some of those, we could monitor and treat as necessary.
All right, any further, so in essence, so I can tell everyone else, in essence, you're thinking about going with the city attorney and trying to work out a situation or what, like,
For an as-needed treatment.
for an ad treatment, okay.
might save us a little money.
Right.
I think it would, yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And since our last meeting, I did get another request to not spray, and that was actually related to the butterfly population.
Yeah.
They were concerned that it could impact.
All right.
All right.
Every time we talk about the mosquito control, which I'm gonna say a lot of that, it just reminds me of the old days. About how people would take care of it, and I would just, I wouldn't say a word. I would just tell them, I did not hear that.
That's kind of a SWOT analysis.
Yeah,
Right.
there you go. That's a
I
good,
think
good
they
term.
could play outside when they were spraying.
Oh, yeah. Something else. All right, let's go on to the New Jackal Island road traffic on stop 30, an update on that.
Yeah, I brought this up. I've gotten some constituent calls that they're putting in a car wash. And the traffic is
Yeah.
already pretty bad there, so I just wanted to kind of to review, Sarah, what we're gonna do on the traffic as part of this new business. What are we doing?
There are no traffic improvements as part of the construction of the car wash. I went back and looked, and some of the initial comments had recommendations to restrict the access at the driveway, or they have a shared driveway
Yes.
with the gas station.
Yes.
And that did not make it through their final approvals. So as of now, there are no traffic improvements with the car wash. It was thought that a lot of it would be passed by traffic and wouldn't negatively impact the situation. You have access off Old Shackle on the backside of the car wash there.
So will the property go all the way to the other side of the old shackle?
No, it's the existing driveway for the gas station. There's one that.
So if things get real bad, can we put a sign exiting the car wash, no left turns?
We would have to coordinate with the state on that. That is state right of way.
I'm not proposing it, but if it gets bad, you know, that trying to turn left on New Shackle with traffic coming this way.
Yeah.
And that way it would require them to go out at the light,
Mhm.
you know, around the back of the property to the light.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to pursuing that.
So, okay. All right. Thank you.
So,
Any other questions on the mayor? You have one? I figured they would have talked about all this during the planning level, did they? Or no?
yeah, there were discussions. I wasn't at the planning commission
Yeah.
meeting, but I went through some of the comments, iterations, and there were some initial comments.
Next one is light synchronization update. How's that going on?
I see them working.
It's going well.
I see them out on Main
Yeah.
Street.
It's going well. They have started boring. They're making progress. They're programming controllers to start putting out, throughout the project. So it's moving right along. And the second phase,
Yeah. That's the one that we need.
yes, so that one is moving right along as well. We have submitted for NEPA. We've received initial comments, which were not extensive. We don't anticipate needing any right of way, so we could potentially be going to construction early spring.
Yes.
It's real good.
Doing both at the same time?
I think we might be just riding.
Good.
Yeah,
Synergy. It's
tails.
called synergy.
Gonna be great.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, yes, sir.
I had this brilliant idea, that came after an alderman had a brilliant idea, and that was. As the construction work is being done on this project, we need to have a sign out there to let people know that this is about traffic light synchronization. Of course, it's modeled after the stormwater drainage signs that we have out there.
Oh, yeah.
And an alderman came up with that a couple years ago. I can't remember which alderman it was, but if I figure it out, I'll give them credit.
Yeah.
Is that everything?
Okay, well, yeah, that would be an ideal thing to put the sign up.
Metro does that all the time.
Yeah.
They even put down the council members.
Yeah, they sure do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you seen those signs? I mean, you talk about.
So
I don't want that.
So Casey's getting the other sign that can go with them wherever they're working that day.
Perfect.
Yeah, we did that actually when the construction, when they constructed Volunteer Drive, when they did the whole thing. We put the aldermen's names down too. That's been a while back.
Once that gets finished, I'm gonna take you. Take you to the Christmas party.
All right.
Buy you lunch.
Saunders Ferry Greenway update.
Not a whole lot to update, except that it is moving right along. They do expect to have another pour for the concrete portion of the trail before our next monthly meeting, so probably in the next week or two. They have submitted the boardwalk drawings. Those have been conditionally approved. The color for the handrails, we're just waiting on some samples, so I can coordinate with planning to select the color for that. So it's moving along smoothly. Which is
So
great.
I had suggested, could we put, an advertisement in this, the walkway, the seal of the city?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to find that.
I'm trying to find a local company that we can get that.
I saw that
completed.
at West Palm Beach.
Nice.
On their greenway, they got a huge West Palm Beach colors.
Very
It's
attractive,
very attractive,
Yeah.
so.
yes.
So, guys, I've had some people say, hey, it's great, the greenway, but where it comes out at Lacoya, all those rocks and everything, is there gonna be any kind of greenery, or is it just gonna, they say it looks so stark all those boulders at the entrance to Sanders Ferry Road. So have y'all heard those complaints or anybody else?
I've heard one, but go ahead.
It's a practicality. It's just because the slopes there had to be so steep because of the core property and, coordinating, not having to obtain it right away.
So we can't do anything for aesthetics.
Not really, not on the slope side.
So the comment I heard was about the curve at Gallatin Road and Sanders Ferry, where you have just a lot of overgrown vegetation. And so Timothy is putting together a possible plan that we could do there. It has to get core approval first. And it's something he's been working on with the core, but they've changed folks again. So I'm hoping to hear back. It won't affect the rocks right there, but it affects just the overall look of the bank along Gallatin and Sanders.
Functionality.
Are there progress photos on the website people can check out or?
That's a great question. I know Casey has posted some photos on our Facebook page and Instagram, I believe, but I'll have to see if we can get some uploaded to the website as well.
All right, well, that sounds good. As long as there's no problems. That's what we had so many problems with trying to get that thing going.
And under budget.
Right,
It's on budget right now.
there we go. Hey, I'll take that.
Work a little harder.
All right,
Yeah, we can.
yeah. Other business? Do you have any?
I feel like you need to share something with you.
Yes.
It's interesting, we talked about the hazard mitigation grant for flooding earlier. Several years ago, we received property on Linden Drive. And it bothers me that we have property there, we have property other places that we essentially have no use for. Linden Drive is tough because it's actually below the dam and it floods. It probably is the worst piece of it's probably the worst piece of property in terms of flooding.
Right,
Anybody who was here in the 70s and 80s, even 90s, get used to seeing water at the top of the roof level for a lot of those houses. So there's not a whole heck of a lot we can do. The past couple of months, we have received 2 proposals for that property. And so at some point, I'll be coming back to y'all with those. Neither one of them are involved us spending any money, but what's nice about those proposals is we wouldn't have to maintain the property any longer.
that's real good, man. So is that just something that's, gonna be coming forward, or do you let us know?
I don't want to come forward and say, this is what we've been doing the past couple of months. I'd rather come to you and say, this is what possibilities are to come, come down.
Other business?
Do you all have any other business? Yes, sir.
Just wanna, I know y'all got an email from Jesse, but about the ordinance going to finance here in a few minutes.
Oh,
involving
yes.
Insurance.
Yes, and I appreciated you
So
notifying.
if anybody has any questions in here, he said that finance. That's it. It's to appropriate this, it's to start, set up we wanted to start the process of an ordinance to get ready to appropriate the insurance funds from the wind damages. We don't know the total yet. It's gonna be over 200,000, we think. But we wanted to get the process started of an ordinance going through this. So we could be ready to start repairing things when we get the green light. I just want to notify you all. 'Cause it is
Yeah,
part of
I'm glad, I appreciated you notifying him that, because I would have, when that came up, I would have
Right.
questioned it. And I'm glad that was a smart move on your end to do that,
Yes, sir.
because it does originate here in this committee. By you. Yes, did you have some? Yes, sir.
What's the status on the stormwater grant? The state, $4 million stormwater grant.
We haven't received a final determination yet. They're moving very slow now. We haven't received comment, but they're just still kind of working through all the applications.
They're overloaded right now.
And the second thing is what's the status on the bathrooms at the rugby field?
I know that Stephen has been in back and forth communication with CXT. And I believe he got the design. I think
I
he's
think that
waiting on.
all the
delivery
designs have been
timeline.
approved and they're just waiting on a delivery timeline.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact date the design was approved
Fair
on
enough.
our end, but it's been within the last 2 to 3 weeks. So I mean, you're still talking 4 to 6 months probably lead time.
And I think what we've seen is every lead time they've given us has been about triple.
Yeah,
The design timeline was much longer than they initially stated.
All right, is there anything else? Before we leave tonight, I do want to say one thing. I'm not sure at this point, but at our next committee meeting, which will be April 28th or something like that, I may be out. I may be having to go back in the hospital. And if that's the case, then I would ask the vice chairman to take over. I gotta find somebody. Well, never mind. I gotta find somebody that will go in. My mother cannot go, obviously my sister can't. So I'm looking now for someone that there's a possibility that I might have to go back in. And if that is the case, then I probably will miss that meeting as well at the board. So we'll just we'll wait on that and see. It may not, because I've got a doctor's appointment on the 17th that will tell me on that. So that will help kind of alleviate that. I'm praying to God that he says, hey, you're not gonna need it, but I wanted to notify that, what we've got. That will be on the 28th, so be sure to take care of that and make sure he does what he's supposed to do, right? And I'm just teasing. Anyway, is there any other further discussion on this? Move to adjourn. Okay, there's been a proper motion and proper